Welcome. I'd like to call this July 9th, 2024 Radford City Schools School Board meeting to order. Can I please have a moment of silence? All right, would everyone who would care to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ms. Swing, would you like to lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Everyone gotten a chance to review the agenda for today?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thanks so much. We have the appointment of our clerk, deputy clerk, agent, and deputy agent.
All right, thank you. The clerk of the board for the coming year, we would like to Ms. Carrie Long to continue in that role. Cindy Blankenship, along with Ms. Long, they both do a great job together, so I'd like for Cindy Blankenship to continue in her role as deputy clerk. J.C. Hamilton does a great job as the agent. He's very helpful, very knowledgeable, very thorough. We appreciate that. And then I, as the superintendent, would act as the deputy agent. And I suppose that would need to be in the form of a motion.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of clerk, deputy clerk, agent, and deputy agent as Dr. Joyce described?
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you so much all for being willing to continue filling those roles for us. All right, do we have any of the school student showcase for today?
We're going to move that to August. It's going to be tennis and soccer.
Yeah.
But a lot of those kids were out along with the coaches, so we would like to recognize those folks in August.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, our consent items. Everyone get a chance to look over the minutes from our last meeting
Yes.
and our superintendent's authority to appoint personnel between meetings. We had bills and petty cash reports for June. I don't remember any student or school facilities, just one school facilities.
Yeah, that was cheerleading
Right.
at McCart.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the consent items? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. Do we have anyone signed up to share with us today? No. Okay. All right. Then we will move on to our report of our superintendent, Dr. Joyce.
Thank you very much. I would like to begin my report this afternoon by welcoming Ms. Gerald to the podium. Ms. Gerald is our attendance, as part of All-In Spending, she's our attendance now overseer, if you will. She takes care of the kids' attendance starting in August in earnest. She's been doing a lot of work between now and when she was assigned to this role. A lot of innovation has come from Ms. Gerald. She's got a lot of really good ideas. I'm really glad to see that she's in charge of this. It's helpful for all divisions across the state of Virginia, Radford City included, so we can get folks in the classroom because you cannot replace face-to-face instruction. So I've asked her to join us this afternoon and give us a brief update on where she is and where we're going. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me today. As he said, my name is Melissa Gerald, and the official title is Educational Outreach and Attendance Coordinator, and I'm super happy to talk to you about what's been going on and then what we're going to move forward with. So on the first slide, you see a picture of a logo, and I felt like it was important for us at Radford City Schools to have a logo to kind of brand everything attendance. And so I kind of put my sketch on a piece of paper and I handed it over to Miss Glenna Patterson, and this is the wonderful logo that she came up with. So this is going to be featured on anything that comes out with attendance. It's just a signal to families, staff, admin that it has to do with attendance. So what has happened since I have been in this role since February, towards the end of February? Initially, I met with all the principals. We talked about updates on attendance taking and what procedures were already in place. We talked about things that were happening in terms of chronic absenteeism, and then also what was happening in terms of truancy. I spent a lot of time with them just trying to get an idea of what was currently happening. You know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I was going to continue with things that were working and then move forward with that. We did have an introduction letter that was emailed out to RCPS staff and families just to kind of make people aware of this is a new position. We're taking a closer look at this. This is serious. We want everybody to be involved and everybody to be knowledgeable about the new position. I spent some time with Mr. Martin, Mr. Dwayne Martin. He was in that role, well, not in that role, but he was doing the tracking. He was letting the admin know when to send out letters, when to have meetings, when to have truancy meetings. So I spent some valuable time with him, and he was awesome and took me in under his wing and kind of showed me the ropes on how he was currently tracking. And because it was such a great way of tracking, I continued to track it that way for the rest of the school year, and I was able to implement needed consequences as they applied. So I was able to send out letters to families through the principals, make phone calls to families, have those family meetings, and then also the truancy meetings, and even some court appearances. Even though it was just from February to May, it was still needed. As I said before, we have the new logo and the branding, and then also I felt like it was important to kind of take what our attendance policy says and put it in a one-pager, a flyer, easy to read. Sometimes families, especially when they get policies, it's at the beginning of the school year, there's a lot of information passed through at the beginning part of the school year, and I just felt like we needed something that was easy to read. You'll be able to see it later on in this presentation. I also did social media posts through admin weekly, and I would just make a flyer for them to post on social media. Admin would take care of putting it on social media. At RHS, they would also feature it on the Bobcast, and then also Kate Leeper, who oversees the social media for the PERC, for the Parent Education Resource Center, was able to post it to their website. So getting that information out there, raising awareness, getting information to families that might not know otherwise. I've had ongoing coordination with NRVCS, DSS, and court services, and those three entities are who make up our truancy team. So when we meet on, usually it's a Thursday morning or a Thursday afternoon here at the board office, those are the agencies that are coming to help support the families and students before it goes to court. So I've had great contact with them. They are kind of showing me the ropes because they've been part of that truancy team for a while. They're very open to helping me. They're very open to answering questions I don't know the answers to. I've also met with the new judge, Judge Hamrick for Radford City. He is by trade a lawyer, and then he in Christiansburg recently, and he's recently been assigned to our new judge at Radford. So I've spent some time with him in and out of the courtroom. So I think that relationship will get stronger as time goes on. So how did we end things for the school year last year? So this is information and data that was kind of taken out of Power School. You can see that for this particular report, I took it from the beginning of the school year to the end of the school year, and I ran it for all the schools. So what we want to see is this percentage on this side to be higher than 90%. So as you can see, all the schools are in Radford City are higher than 90%. And that's not anything that I've done because that's been a whole school year. So congratulations to the admin and the staff and all those people that take attendance and put the information in and get kids to school, the school bus drivers. Like, that's everybody working together to make that happen. So kudos to Radford City for that. So I felt like I needed to take an approach of my own to kind of make it a structured approach for how I was going to address attendance. And these 5 E's are what are important to me when it comes to my job. So setting forth the expectations. You don't know what you don't know. I've talked to so many families that don't know what the attendance policy states. So we can't expect them to follow the attendance policy if they don't know the expectation. So setting those expectations as the attendance policy gives the guidance for, and letting the families know what the expectations are. Then also educating the families. So what does it mean when my child misses more than 5 days, it's unexcused? What does that mean for me? So providing that educational piece. And in that regard too, like there are families out there that are seeking education for how to improve the morning routine, how to improve the evening routine. And I spend time with them talking on the phone or in our meetings, trying to help those families and educate those families. Some of our families out there need encouragement. They just need somebody to know that I'm on your team, how can I help you? And encouraging those families is a big piece of getting them to school. Another big piece is the engagement piece. I feel like that having a direct link to a family and being able to talk to them on the phone and hear what the problem is and help them problem solve the problem is, it's an important piece. And if we're not engaging with the families, they might, if we don't have that level of engagement with them, they might just not send them to school because why should I send them to school? But when you have somebody calling and checking in and figuring things out together, and there's that engagement piece, I feel like we see the benefits of that. And then maybe not my favorite, but the enforcement is, you haven't met the expectations, you haven't followed through with what we needed to follow through with. We're going to have to enforce what the attendance policy says. So in looking at the next school year, and I've talked to Dr. Joyce about some of this, is at the beginning of the school year, I would like to go to the grade level meetings with the principals to kind of discuss attendance with the teachers, because oftentimes their kids are in our parents have kids in their teacher's classroom, and the teacher knows more information than what I might know. So I feel like showing my face to a teacher, letting them know that I'm there to support them and offering assistance and coordination and support is a first line of defense. Because if that teacher knows, well, Johnny's not coming to school because he doesn't have any clean clothes to get to school. If that teacher knows that and she can share that with me, then I can help that family. But if I don't know, if that teacher doesn't share that with me, then I can't help that family. I would like to start weekly emails to staff with attendance data in it. Again, we don't know what we don't know, so putting that data in an email weekly allows admin, it allows staff to know where does our school stand, where does our grade level stand. And I got that idea from a principal that I was talking to at a conference. He said, I just sent out a weekly email, it's a weekly blast, and I just add to it where our attendance stands for our particular building. We came up with a new infographic. I would like for it to be, again, sent to families as a reminder, but then also printed and placed in each classroom in high traffic areas. And we've been working, Carrie and I have been working on getting those printed for the coming school year, and I'll show it to you in a future slide. I would also like the information that's going to be going into the weekly email for the staff. It will also be posted visually at the school, and I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about in another slide. And then I feel like we could also increase incentives for good attendance at the schools and make sure that it's an age-appropriate incentive, because we know that pre-K through 6th grade, parents are getting those kids to school, so we have to incentivize parents maybe more so in those grade levels as opposed to 7th through 12th. And then I like friendly competition. There's always a friendly competition going along at our house. So between grade levels and schools, just kind of one of the ideas I was thinking about is, okay, what was our top grade level for the week in attendance? There could be a traveling trophy. Say, okay, the 7th grade won this week. Okay, well, 2nd grade got it this week. I feel like the more awareness and the more we can draw and point out things to our students, it becomes more important to them. And then we'll continue with the social media posts weekly, and I have an example of those in a future slide. And then just having ongoing communication and coordination with our truancy team and the new judge. and then we'll continue tracking attendance and doing our follow-up as needed. This is the infographic that I was talking about. So this kind of mirrors what the attendance policy currently states, but it's in an easy-to-read graphic. It is color-coded. It will list out, you know, when you reach a certain level, what are some things to consider. So we want people to feel like we really want you to stay in the green. We really want you to be in the green and not go into the yellow, because we see grades starting to decrease in the yellow. In the orange, we're starting to miss out on previously taught content. And then if you're in the red, there's a potential for you to fail the class. So again, this will be that poster that will be in the classrooms, high traffic areas. This will be going out to families, just again, raising awareness and education. So this is an example of a social media post. Again, this went out once a week, just a quick tidbit on attendance. I always give it a source just in case families want to go source it or get other information beyond what I have given them. But, you know, Bradford colors, again, branding with the logo, and they all look similar, and again, tidbits each week. And this is the idea for the visual at each school. Until I talked to Darden yesterday, and Darden and I had an epiphany for a second. So we thought we wanted to have a visual where it would break it down per grade, and there would be one of these in each of the schools. Well, as Darden and I were looking around Dalton yesterday, stopped. It's like, there's the TV. We could just flash it on the TV. So there's one at Dalton. There's a TV at the high school. Cole, you have a TV. I don't think McCarg has a TV.
Well, we'll get them a TV.
Okay, all right. So I feel like that would be easy to change. Like this way, somebody's going to have to go physically change it, but then I could just send slides to whoever's in charge of rotating it through the TV. So we might play it that way, because I think that would be more cost effective and easier on everybody. So, well, this was one I found on Pinterest to show, but I thought it was interesting because, I mean, staff could compete. That could be a friendly competition, but I don't think, you know, I don't know if I'd want to put staff up there. I don't know if I want to put staff up there or not. We could think about that. Let's table that for a bit, but you get the idea. If it's per grade, you know, we would mark a winner per week or per month, however we wanted to do it. But again, it gives us a visual of, you know, where you stand, you know where we're at.
We have students compete against staff. See which one has the biggest.
That's true. That's true.
It stood out to me. I'm sitting here looking at it going, you're being the example of what you're expecting. So I like it.
Okay.
But, you know,
We can take that into consideration. We'll think about that.
things all matter. What does the staff want to do?
This is an idea that I had for McCarg. I have not yet talked to Ken about it in detail. I did tell him that I had something that I wanted to share with him. But I think that shout outs at McCarg went so well last year that kids loved seeing hearing their name on the morning announcements. They like being recognized. They like having their picture up on a bulletin board at McCarg. And so this is kind of the same thing. I would envision it that, you know, we would have the bulletin board and their pictures, and we would run it off the 9 weeks. So if you miss so many days or less per 9 weeks, you would get your picture featured on the bulletin board, and then you would also get your name on the morning announcements. And here's another example, just adding the pictures with it. So Bell Heath does a really good job of tracking their attendance. If you've ever been over there, they have two big graphs over there that tracks their percentage for the year, and then they also have it per teacher and how many times that teacher had perfect attendance. And they did a great job using incentives to kind of promote that, and they did a great job this year with their attendance incentives. This is a particular one that we ran in May because we know May had SOLs, and we wanted to make sure that our students were getting to school. So we broke it down per week, and we had a top secret treat each week, and we had some community supporters to provide the different things per week, which the first one was have an extra one was an extra recess. the second one was It's Popping. The Radford Theater donated popcorn to the winning team. We had a donor donate water and water flavor for a water bar, and then Hodgepodge Cookies donated cookies towards the week 4 winner. And as you can see, the overall winner for the month got an ice cream party, and then they got to pick out an outfit for Mr. Wilder and Mrs. Enos, and they thought that that was just the best. So running things like this in months that we know we really, really need to get our kids to school. This is another one that we thought about. I thought about this one right before Cole went out with the baby, so we did not get to implement this one, but we're saving this one in our back pockets for next year. And it's kind of a bracket like for March and April Madness. And same thing, there would be a classroom trophy for the winner. And I mean, we could change this up to fit for next year, but you get the gist of it, that we want to run more things like this that are theme-based, that there's incentives, and that we're having a friendly competition. Sorry guys. So looking ahead, we are taking a look at the current attendance policy to determine if it is serving us or not. Things that we've already kind of done to work to that are, I have been reviewing and sharing with admin attendance policies from surrounding school divisions and other divisions across the state. I've made phone calls to some school divisions to kind of discuss and get an idea for what they're doing in terms of attendance. And then I've also done some one-on-one interviews with all of the principals, some staff, some RCPS families, and then we've also kind of given people opportunity that might not have had a one-on-one conversation with me to fill out a Google form with the same exact questions, and they provided their information to me that way. But we have been looking at information to kind of see, is this where we want to be? The current attendance policy was last written, updated 2018. So it's pre-COVID. Do we want to look at it? Is it an appropriate time to do it? So we're just trying to gather information right now. But that's all that I have for my update. Does anybody have any questions?
I do have a question that comes to mind.
Yes.
One, thank you for the work on that. It's
You're welcome.
impressive. Really good. Some of our students are not incentivized by having a picture up or their name recognized
Right.
in a very public format. Do we have a plan for those students if we are aware that that's an issue?
Yes, I mean, we could definitely do something, if that's something that they're totally against and they do not want, or a family does not want that, if they're not allowed to have their photograph taken, then we will definitely come up with an alternative idea. I mean, like Cole ran bracelets and some different odds and ends last year that was something little that you would thought, oh, I don't know if they're gonna like that they absolutely love, so.
I just want to be sure. I've ran into with my own team sometimes what would absolutely motivate one person runs the other person away from
Right.
it. I don't want that.
And I feel like, again, like you have to look at it from age and development perspectives, because the high schoolers don't want their picture taken and posted at the high school, but maybe they want their name in a drawing for a round of movie tickets or something like that. So, and I feel like that there's enough community support here that we could run things like that, and at very low cost to us, because they would want to participate and be a partner with us. So yeah.
So I know that attendance and truancy are not the same thing. Is truancy underneath what you're doing, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so that's something that I think we've discussed in here a couple of times is, attendance is they showed up for however percent
Seventh period.
by seventh period.
Yeah.
And so, all the staff that has had, missing students are still expected to teach and test these students. And so do you have thoughts on the, truancy, coming in late? Are there thoughts on how we're going to,
So
number one, is that
truancy-
an issue? To what degree is that an issue? And then what are the plans for the different
So you're talking about truancy, or you're talking about tardy?
tardiness?
Okay.
Tardiness.
So
yes.
tardy is going to, I've looked at it, and I've talked to a couple school divisions about what they are doing currently with tardy, and we have kind of had some chats about what we are seeing and what the trends are in surrounding counties and then beyond. And I do feel like that at some schools, it's a much bigger deal than at a different school within our division. So I definitely feel like that when we look at the attendance policy, that tardies somehow, some way need to be formulated into that new attendance policy.
Okay.
You can be truant at a classroom level, right? First period.
Well, sure, yeah,
Yeah.
because you're tardy.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, you can. And that's something that's on our radar.
Yes.
And we're gonna find out where it's a problem, how big a problem it is, and what it will take to address it.
Yes, we are. We're working together to do that.
I know, I think somebody had at some point brought up when it comes to scheduling, do you put electives, first period, last period, that gets them there early, that keeps them there the full day, the classes the students are really wanting. I don't know if that makes a difference. It's not my expertise, but just something to, things to think about for how do we get these kids who have the autonomy to drive themselves in late, or if their parents are at work and they miss the bus, all those sorts of things. How do we get that kid motivated to get there on time and all day?
And I think that we all know that the schedule at the high school is difficult as it is.
Yeah,
and
for
then
sure.
to add that layer to it is
Would be
more
tough.
difficult. But I do feel like that Miss Rowland and Miss Mosby do an excellent job of trying to accommodate. And as the school year has gone on, if a family says to me, hey, if they didn't have PE first period and they're getting all sweaty and hot, I think that they would do better if they didn't have PE. So then I just shoot an email to their counselor and say, hey, for David next year, let's look at not putting PE first period, because that's been a request from the family. It's not a guarantee, of course,
Right.
but at least I'm putting the information out there.
And as odd as it may sound, a lot of these truant or tardy issues are case-by-case basis,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where different issues affect kids differently. So I think a lot of the tardy, the heavy hitters that are they're tardy multiple days would be a plan that is customized for them.
Right. And I think that's where that engagement piece of like
Yes.
talking to the family, problem solving with that family and helping that family might be a better fit as opposed to putting something, this is what we're globally
everybody.
going to do.
For sure.
So, yeah. Any other
you.
questions? Well, thank you so much for having me. Oh, I'm sorry.
So it's interesting to me that you're meeting with the judge about it. I think that's very smart. I'm curious what the judge's thoughts are on the enforcement of truancy.
Well, I don't have very much experience with the new judge, but what I will say is that I feel like he's a by the book, very strong force, and I feel like that he is going to move forward with consequences from his end. I definitely feel like, from what I've seen, I've met him twice in court and once outside of court, and I feel like that he is going to move forward.
I think that relationship is important. I've seen judges make a huge difference when no one else could, obviously, because they have the power to do things that others don't.
Right.
But I think it's good thinking to meet with them beforehand, before you actually see them in court with the kid.
Right. Well, and it wasn't my idea. So Vicki Collins with DSS formulated a meeting for DSS. Daniel came and myself, and we met with him just to kind of feel out how are you going to be different from the previous judge, and then also, like, what are your philosophies on attendance. So, and I was in court this morning. I'm going back this afternoon, and I feel like that what I saw this morning was like, we're on the same page. We're going to be good.
If it gets to that level.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that's last case scenario. Like, we don't want that to be where we go straight. We want to give opportunities and chances for families to do what they need to do. Thank you. Thank you.
So you guys all know the really nice relationship that we have with Rapid City Police Department. We have 4 of the best SROs in our schools that any division could ask for. Every year at this time, we have the humdrum MOU that we have to sign with the police department and what we'll do and what they'll do. But I asked Chief Holdaway and Lieutenant Martin to come by today just to give us an update on, their relationship with our division. Last night at City Council, these guys were all the rage. I know Chief Holdaway is doing a great job for the city, and we're just glad to be partners with those folks. But I asked him just to come by for a few minutes. He's been very responsive to anything I've asked. And then Lieutenant Martin, we visited all 4 schools. He took time out of his busy day, and we marked through with Mr. Howard things that needed attention. I just think it's a neat relationship that we have with these guys. We're both working for the same thing, and that's the safety of our staff and our students. And they go above and beyond. So I just said, come by, give us an update on what's going on, and they both jumped at the opportunity. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us. I guess I'll start off by saying I guarantee you the attendance at the high school goes up 1% more next year because my daughter won't be there. And I feel like I got a phone call, a text message, an email. I always knew when she was late or not showing up for school. So you guys are definitely on top of things. And we've always had a good relationship, but I really feel like what we have has grown exponentially in the last year or so. We, with the transition and everything that you guys put in place, I feel like we've had more support from the school system, and anything that we've asked for or had requests about, it has definitely been heard. And, I don't get out in the schools as much as I would like to, but I went up to McCarg one day and I saw our school resource officer doing a math worksheet with one of the students. And, it did my heart well. And he was on my shift at one time, and I don't know if we want this guy teaching math to first graders, but and that kind of embodies the whole philosophy behind our school resource officer program. We want to invest in our communities and in our kids, but there's also that public safety component. And coming from a perspective of looking at these lockdown drills and intruder drills and shelters in place, it is phenomenal. When I talk to my partners across the state, I don't think there's the same relationship that we have, and we've definitely grown on what we've got going on here. And I know there's always room to be better, but I think we really have a model that we can share with everybody else. And I hope that day never comes here, but when it does, I think we have some of the best and adequate staff prepared to deal with it. So thank you guys for having us. Thank you for everything that you do to support our police department and our city. Eric, you got anything you want to share? Do you guys have any questions for me? Anything that we can answer that maybe help? Sometimes I know law enforcement does things and people don't really understand why they do it, and it's just lack of communication on how we respond to events. But any questions from you guys?
Chief, I do have a question, if you don't mind.
Yes,
Last
sir.
year, we had a discussion, the board had a discussion with your department about the potential of introducing new radios into the system with the SROs. Due to a lot of circumstances, that really kind of fell by the wayside, to be honest. And I'll own that as well as anyone else. But I presume that request is still on the table. It would help your officers, if I'm not mistaken?
So
Or is there a workaround for that it's no longer needed?
Well, at a macro level, some of the issues that we've ran into is that there was opportunity to join a regional effort with Pulaski County, which changes our radio system. And we are partners with them in some components of that, and some we are not. Ultimately, I'm aware of it, but the cost and the technology issues that we face is astronomical. I mean, we're talking the radios we carry now, we're about $1,000 a piece, and so just getting everything bridged in, and not knowing the uncertainty of knowing if we were even going to have a dispatch center in our city 18 months down the road kind of offset some of the things that we looked short term but held off on for the long term. But it's certainly something that we can put back on the table and look at some ideas or theories or even exploration of having a better radio system for our school resource officers.
Okay. So it's something that really is no longer a pressing issue. It's just
There were many other major factors in front of that had to be satisfied and settled before we could even look at some of the back end.
I just want to be sure, because I thought I had found a workaround that we might be able to assist on our end if that was necessary, but if it isn't, thank you all so much for what you're doing. We appreciate it. I
Yes,
want to make
sir.
sure you have any tools available at any time available to keep us all safe. And
And I
So-
totally get it, right? Like when chaos hits, the last thing you want to do is be managing 2 radios in your
Yeah.
hands and trying to talk into one and figure out the other. But all we need is that one call on the radio that says something's going on, and then we'll get there. We'll figure the rest of it out.
I have no doubt. Thank you.
So I'd like to take just a minute. I know you were back there hanging out, but Lieutenant Martin has been so responsive to any requests I have, along with Stacy Howard and his safety work as far as spending some grant money, making sure our schools are safe. But I want to make sure that Lieutenant Martin gets credit for bridging the gap between us and Radford University as a place for reunification. I think that is the one component of I Love You Guys that we didn't feel completely comfortable with. We've had a meeting with Radford University about 2 weeks ago, and they are fully on board to offer up facilities for us to, in other words, if we had to evacuate a building, where we would go to reunify our kids and their families. But Lieutenant Martin, Radford University Police Department, Radford University proper, and Radford City Schools are all at the same table, at the same time, pushing in the same direction. So in just a matter of months, I think if you'll agree, we're going to have a reunification plan that's going to work well for everyone.
Okay, yep, we're gonna push forward on that, because that's definitely something we have to get touch base on. We have never even stuck our toe into that water yet, so we're gonna realize that's a really deep pool we're about to jump into, so yeah, we've got to push forward on that.
And it's really nice to have you guys as partners, as well as Radford University with their facilities. And they have been nothing but supportive of the idea of us reunifying on their campus whenever and wherever possible. They also have a student body to consider, but they said if at all possible, we're welcome to use their facilities. So we'll start working on logistics as far as that goes with Jeff Smith and our staffs, and I look forward to getting that done. But Lieutenant Martin took time to go through around every corner of every building, inside and out, since I've been here, and we've got a list we're working on to make things even more safe. So thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so we wanted to hammer out a calendar between now and January that would include our regularly scheduled meetings, also the budget hearing. And we took a look at that earlier. I think it would be good for us to let folks know that on our August meeting, since the beginning of school falls about the same time our meeting was scheduled, we've moved that to August 20, and that'll again be at 6 p.m. here at the school board office. We were lucky enough to avoid an election day conflict this year. Election day will be the week prior to our regularly scheduled meeting, so there'll be no change there. And then we'll have our budget hearing. As funny as it seems, we just finished with the budget. We'll have another budget hearing in December, right around the corner. So I would imagine that needs to be a motion to approve that calendar, or no? Now, did we not put it in the motion to move the August meeting? I didn't mean to interrupt.
I believe we did.
So we know about the August meeting,
I think so.
but if the rest of it is regular,
Same.
I think we're good.
I think we're okay.
Okay, so for information purposes only, the remainder of this year has been tentatively scheduled for our meetings. Okay? So you guys had in your packet that was emailed to you as part of the agenda the policy revisions. We're going to have first reading at this time. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the heavy hitters that have changes I have in front of me. If you have any questions, please stop me, but I'll just go over these real quick. The first one that wasn't part of the VSBA policy revisions was the naming of the facilities. We've sort of circumvented our own policy a couple times, so I wanted you guys to know that it is not required for us to have in that policy that the person that we are naming a school or facility for needs to be deceased for at least 10 years. That is an option that I would like removed. Okay? We've run into that a couple times. It just made really good sense to avoid or discard that part of the policy. So I think that we edit the policy to where it takes that part out. Other divisions have done it. There's no pushback that I know of. There's no real pitfall to that. So I'd like to see us take that part out. I think someone had a really good point last meeting. If we wait 10 years, the polish is worn off and it doesn't mean the same. Okay? All right, good deal. So there are some things that change that are very minor that might not mean much to you, but I want to go over them real quick. There's the public participation at school board meetings. I know that Bella did a great job bringing high school news to us. I would like to see that continue in some capacity that we can talk about later. I'll talk to Mr. Simpson about that. But there are just some additions to that policy that won't mean a lot to us here, but I'm glad to answer questions if you read it and had any questions. But participation by the public, now not only does it include Bella's presentation maybe as part of the agenda, but students are now allowed to approach the board during public time, okay, with some parameters. But I suppose that other divisions had issues with students wanting to speak during that 3-minute time. And now that's been added and is allowed, and has some guardrails.
Dr. Joyce, on that, I did have a question relating to student privacy of a minor. Our normal introduction is that we ask the person to present their name and address. Perhaps it would be considered, if they are a active student, we omit the address portion, just as an idea.
I think that's a
Under.
great idea. I think we can certainly make that change on the local level. That's a good idea. The programs for students with reading deficiencies, Ms. Cox has done a great job with the VLA to this point. She's new to that position, but you wouldn't know it by seeing that work that she's doing. I'm so glad to have her here because this is a real moving target, and I hoped it wouldn't be, but it is. But she's done a great job of staying ahead of it. There is some policies around students, programs for students with reading deficiencies, which is the VLA thing. That came from the legislature. So we're working on that. We're way ahead of this one. I just want you to know that it's in policy now, that kids that show on their assessment early that they have a deficiency, that they're being addressed. Okay? Newly added literacy plan, it's basically the same thing. A literacy plan must be developed for kids that have shown deficiency in some area of reading in elementary school. Personnel records is a new clause of 10 working days for employee verification. That won't mean much to me, but it might to Ms. Schul and Ms. Long. But there is a new clause for 10 working days for employee verification. We get those calls a lot, but we have 10 days to respond, 10 working days. New additions of eligibility license and for reading specialists. That's again for Ms. Schul mostly. They're making it a little bit easier to hire reading specialists because, as you know, it's a tough position to fill. Usually when you fill a reading position opening, you're losing a good teacher in some capacity, or maybe you're stealing one. But either way, it's hard to fill that position. There are there's some less stringent policy here that makes that a little bit easier to hire someone who's not quite yet ready as a fully licensed teacher, which is the way we're headed on all teaching positions, is to make it a little easier to get in the profession. We have special ed parent family liaison now needs to be posted on the website. That's a policy that we easily take care of. SOL retakes for K through 8. That had been taken out, now it's been put back in, or had been entertained to take that out, which would have been a huge mistake. Those are our expedited retakes. If you have a bad day, you might want to retake the test with parent permission, and now that's in policy that you can. Students are absolutely allowed to retake the test. There are 2 exceptions. If you're repeating a grade, that if you're retained in a grade and have not previously passed the related test, then you don't necessarily get a chance to take it a 3rd time, or they received reading intervention services, but that's a separate entity altogether. That's not going to affect the SOL expedited retake. This one for school admission talks about kinship, where folks aren't necessarily living with their families, they're living with other family members. We can easily take care of that. And one on internet privacy that we're way ahead of. Very little changes, but we're just trying to stay. Schools are a lot of times the last to know when it comes to technology, and so they do a good job of trying to stay ahead of changes in technology. That was a really fast review of the policy changes. You have those in your agenda packet if you wish to go back, but with your permission, we'll do those a 2nd time coming up we'll adopt these policies, okay? But I see no reason not to. Questions? Sorry, that was really fast. Trust me, if something comes up that's going to grab us, I'll let you know. Okay. Next, we have something that Ms. Long and Ms. Schul and I have been talking about. There's a couple of policies. Mr. Howard, that's a 1-page PowerPoint that I sent to you a while back. Leave sharing.
It's probably an attachment
It is.
within the agenda.
Oh, okay. There it is. So, and I'll need your help with this, so correct me if I'm wrong. But there are 2 policies that we have on the books that address leave sharing and then sick leave bank. I get it wrong every time. They parallel one another quite closely, and we didn't see the need to have them both. Now, this change, if you guys were to vote on this, will not take place until next year. So this is nothing that will affect any of our personnel for the coming school year. But if I could just real quickly, I have a comparison here let's start with leave sharing. Okay, on the left, all employees that have accumulated sick leave may participate, but it's not necessary for you to donate to this bank, okay? And I know you don't like me to call it a bank, but I can't get out of that habit. Also, for personal illness or pregnancy only with a doctor's note, this cannot be used for your family member, and that'll make more sense in just a minute. The employee must be out for 10 consecutive school days, and all other leave has been exhausted. So you have no days off of any kind. The next day you take off is without pay. And employees can donate up to 5 days to each request. That's other employees can donate to that. By comparison, sick leave bank employees must donate at least 2 sick days to the bank to participate. Now this is the policy that we like, correct? I mean, we don't dislike the leave sharing, but it just so much mirrors this one. So employees must donate at least 2 sick days to the bank. You cannot withdraw from the bank in the first 6 months of enrollment unless enrollment occurs in the first 30 days of employment. I'll let that one sink in for a minute. The employee must be out for 10 consecutive days again, whereas all other leave has been exhausted. It's applicable to the employee's illness only with a doctor's note and not for pregnancy, and is not for use with family illness. And the VRS, now this is a comparison so much as it is for your information. VRS hybrid plan members, which are the young ones, not me, are not eligible because VRS hybrid plan members already receive short-term disability coverage after the first 12 months. So it won't adversely affect them as much as it would an older employee like myself, okay? We just felt like that the leave sharing side of this comparison is redundant and unnecessary. And we would like to stick with, correct, the sick leave bank policy, where we get most of, that gets most of the attention, although there are some folks who have used the leave sharing, but most of the attention comes from the sick leave bank. And you're all probably familiar with that. I know probably you are for sure, and I don't know if private corporate does that. I don't know. No, not so much, okay.
Neither one of these policies are VSBA policies, so they are strictly RCPS policies.
Are they policies or regulations?
They are currently called policies.
Okay, in the agenda it says regulation, and I know
Oh,
there's
I'm sorry.
that has been brought to our attention multiple times. One we vote on, one we do not.
Right. Okay, so since this is not a policy, so I'll default to regulation, right? But it would be a local, so you feel like maybe we don't need to vote on it? We can just,
No, that's not what I'm saying.
oh,
But there is a difference. We don't have to vote on a regulation. We can agree or disagree.
right,
But policy, we do have,
Sure.
I don't know which it is, though.
Generally speaking, a regulation is going to be in direct correlation with law.
policy, right, a policy.
You have a law that's written by the state or the governing body that's driven down to your local entity. That's a regulatory compliance issue.
Right,
If it's a policy, it is something that is within the purview and the guidance of the entity, so they can make a decision. We want to do this. This is our policy. We have to do this. This is a regulation.
right,
So in this particular case, since it's actually not driven by VDOE or other agencies, it would be a policy, not a regulation, from my perspective, and that's as compliance officer at the bank. So
Is
Mhm.
one
Different
a
thing.
policy that drives the other? Is,
you can have regulation drive policy. You don't typically have policy. You can't have a policy drive regulation. Again, regulation is directly dictated by
vote
law.
on it regardless.
Yeah.
that's probably the safest way to do it.
I'm curious, just if I may, have we asked the staff which one they prefer, or do they have a preference?
We're just going on what's used the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is a way of asking without asking.
Right.
I'm with you.
And you have a little more teeth in the game when you have to donate to
Sure.
the sick leave bank.
Sure.
It shows a little effort on your part to be a team player. Not that there's nothing wrong with not donating, but then you just can't take from the bank.
I'm always a fan of, if I'm not actively able to participate, I like to get opinions and input from those who do.
Sure.
So in this case, obviously, I don't participate either way, so I'm not eligible. I want to make sure we're not putting our staff in a position where they're like, we really don't like that.
No, we can easily put that to the staff and make it, and since it's not effective this year, we can easily poll or survey or ask the staff
Yeah.
what they prefer, or if they would miss the leave sharing portion of this comparison.
I was just curious.
And,
I mean,
that's a great idea. We were basically going by what was getting the most hits.
sure.
Eventually, your sick leave bank will totally go away because your VRS hybrid plan members are slowly
Yeah.
becoming the
Mhm.
Majority.
your large amount of your employees, so eventually that one will go away.
Gotcha.
So you want to get rid of the leave share.
That's the one that doesn't get used very often and is so redundant.
But we have used it though.
Sure.
Yes.
And I recall at using it. And I'll be honest, I liked the autonomy to be able to do that.
Right.
In the past, to help people, to give people the ability to help, whether they're in the sick leave bank or not. That's my opinion.
Mhm.
And the only reason I have an opinion is because we used it
Right.
on purpose.
Right.
Someone needed help, we were able to help, we were not tied by being someone donating, not donating,
Good point.
all the other stuff. So that's kind of my opinion. I don't see a need to get rid of one or the other. I think they both kind of have their own lane, but maybe I'm wrong. But we have used it, and I would have hated to have not been able to use it because of a couple of bullets that are in the other.
Right. Fair enough.
I think, yeah, wasn't it last year that came up?
Been recent.
Yeah, that's one, yeah, I remember that.
It's been
Yeah.
recent, yeah, and we were able to do it quickly. We're very agile and
Yeah.
not be bound by any.
And it really
Like-
helped one of our families out.
It helped the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I look at it that way, is because we've had to use that one, and we would not have been able to use the other to help someone in
But-
their school.
I think at the point that it came up, they didn't have any days available to utilize because of the circumstances, which were unexpected, and they wouldn't be able to donate those 2 days in order to qualify.
Right. It's too late.
Give-
by
So
that
it's
point.
too late.
it was a one-off sort of thing, but you know,
Yeah.
sometimes if you can do something to make a difference in that one person's life,
No doubt.
you know,
So how about we table this for a little closer look?
yeah.
And then if we decide that we can come up with something that will make more sense, or we just drop it. Because it's not, yeah, it's not costing anything either way.
Is it an issue we're trying to address, or is it just cleaning
No.
up the book, so
Right.
to speak?
Kind of streamlined, but again, it's gonna cost us nothing either way.
Sometimes when someone has been teaching for a long time, they have a lot of sick days accumulated, and so they're in a position to donate
Right.
a larger number of days too.
They're not in the sick bank, maybe because they don't have to.
True.
Uh,
And like Ms. Long said, this will clean itself up. It's not, shouldn't have said, this will
Yeah.
go away eventually.
Right.
Each time we hire a younger employee that's in the VRS hybrid plan, which now I think there are 2 hybrid plans, correct? Isn't there 2 hybrid plans now?
Plan 1, Plan 2, and hybrid plan.
Yeah. That's how old I am.
understand.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move now to the student code of conduct, which there were just changes that were, I don't know if there were any changes at all, frankly. This isn't one where, this is not like our crisis plan where we updated phone numbers and things. Basically, the student code of conduct is okay as is. I think Dr. McDaniel and I are going to take a closer look at it later this year, but right now it's checking a box, it's filling a need, and I just need permission to go forward so that we can include that in our back to school material for August. You were able to see that in your agenda, I hope, and I suppose that needs a vote. Over here asking for
Yeah,
votes.
we've got it on our action item.
Okay, good,
so
action
we're
item,
good.
excellent. Mr. Wirt is here with our capital projects update. Thank you, sir, from Thompson and Litton.
Absolutely. What's that? Okay. Yes, yes. That's what I'm getting there. Okay. Good to see everybody in the summer. All right. There we go. There we go. Just to give you an update, we're really looking at the stadium and the gym projects right now. Well, there you go. I told you that. On the stadium, I just kind of had what we had last time, just grayed out what's complete. The paving's complete. The railing, we're still working on, getting pretty close on that. Turned out being a lot of local fabrication, but it's actually looking really nice. It's powder coated. I'll show you the pictures in a minute, but should be at the end of July, probably before. That's what Travis is saying with Extreme. Then just some additional fencing and some additional work I've been talking with Dr. Joyce on. This is the railing. Actually, yes, thank you for the update, because I had pictures from last week, and Jack stopped in this morning, had some fresh pictures where they had more work done. So this is the home side. Pretty much should be complete here. Oh, hold on. Visitor side. Visitor side is pretty close now. There's it's really what they're lacking, what they're working on right now is the outer part of the ADA ramp, and so the remaining part is on the inside. That's in powder coat right now. So that's what they hope. As soon as they get that, they should have that in a couple of weeks. So so it's coming along. Here we go. The additional fencing I've been talking with Dr. Joyce on. I think we've talked about it before here. Just this back fence. The fence was supposed to come out originally. And of course, Jack's into sports. He's like, that's where everybody hangs out. So looking to redo that so it'll match the black fence that's on the bleachers instead of the old. And then just painting that. This is a part up in the corner, actually, that Chris Childers, the building official, commented on having that filled in just for safety. And then once we came in here, we originally were going to have have it sloping up. That's how we had it on the plans. Paver said, he said, that's looks good on paper, basically. And so we're looking to just improve that, take that fence out, and just clean that up. And these were, and of course, when I talked with Travis, he said as soon as he gets the go-ahead, he should have those ready before school too. So.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. And then this is infill and painting. Basically, when we say infill, I guess this was from the old steps. They'll come in and block those in and just paint the fronts on the home and visitor side. He said too, he should be able to have those ready for school too. It's not critical, but it just will be, it'll polish things up nicely. Some of the additional work that we've been talking about. And this is really the same budget we showed a few months ago. Just to show you the work we have there was 17, maybe a little more. I'm not sure if there was one little extra piece with one of the fencing areas. And with contingency, we're still showing there should be monies left. I know Dr. Joyce said that depended on, I guess, with the city possibly. So, and then track replacement. If funds become available, we're ready to start working with planning. If you're interested, we're actually just starting that at Pulaski High School. I think I talked with Dr. Joyce maybe a few months ago. At Pulaski, we did an assessment of the track to make sure everything meets VHSL standards, make sure all the drainage is adequate before you dive into a project. They were happy with that, and we had to do an RFP with them, and we got to go ahead. So they're going to be working on lighting, track, and possibly turf. We don't know. Gym HVAC, we're really looking at the indoor air handling units right now. Structural framing was completed last week. Had to work on that once we got the new units down. So that's finally moving along. And we're looking on hoisting the units this week And Travis with Extreme is planning to be ready by the school year. Talked to Dr. Joyce about the, I know the resurfacing the floor, looking at August 1. I haven't heard back from Travis yet, but he said he'll let us know. But as we know with his past projects, he'll do everything he can to work with us. So.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm back. Well, I should be pointing at you, shouldn't I? Yeah. These are the outdoor units. We've been showing these for a while. They were done last year, when really they were just waiting on the inside for spring break. So seems like spring break's been a long time, but I know when we talked about this back in the spring, or may have been February even, and he's like, when the project starts, it's like a 3 or 4 month project. So that's pretty much what they're looking at right now. And this was this morning. These are the units that will be going in place. I don't know if anybody ever looked up, but there were 2 big units up here, or 2 long units. That's what they took down over the last couple of months. These are the ones that will go back in place. 2 halves will go into each corner. I think one's the heat exchanger, and then the other's the fan for it. And that's where they're going to go. This was not that you probably care. These are the structural members. There's one right behind this platform too that the new units will be suspended from. And just another picture of the units. And not really exciting. Not exciting like the last presentations, but anyway. And that's where we are right now. Any questions or?
So the football stadium, you're saying it looks like everything will be complete, not the track, but everything will be complete by the next.
That's right. That is the plan. And like I say, they should be done hopefully in less than 2 weeks with the railing. I think that's really the railing, the paving, the fencing. Travis said we should be fine with that. If not, those are not as critical, except for that corner with the bleachers.
But there's nothing fencing wise that would affect football season anyway.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
If I'm correct.
That's right.
These are the new bleachers, aren't they?
No, that's the old picture.
That's the old, okay.
That's the old.
I
And
see the walk on the.
yes. Yep. We probably should get some of the before pictures and load them up to see what it looks like now. So.
I can try to swing one and get a picture for you.
Yes. Yes. It is looking nice. It's looking
Oh,
nice,
yes.
I think. So.
Very nice.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thank you, sir.
That's
Is
all I
that
have.
all? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There is one more thing under the new class
I think we're gonna,
course.
aren't we gonna hold off on the earth science? The environmental science? Okay. So, thank you. So what we talked about earlier, with the new creative science ideas that we would have to help achievement, as well as some staffing issues, some class size, things like that. We're proposing a new class. It's not taking the place of an old class. This would be a new addition, environmental science for grade 9. This would integrate the study of many components of our environment, including the human impact on our planet. Outcomes focus on scientific inquiry, the physical world, the living environment, resource conservation, humans' impact on the environment, legal and civic responsibility. Instruction will focus on student data collection and analysis through lab experiences and field work. Teachers will collaborate with museums, aquariums, nature centers, government agencies, associations, foundations, and private industry in an effort to engage the community, provide diverse points of view about the management of natural resources, and offer a variety of learning experiences and career education opportunities. In a nutshell, this would be a new addition to our science department, whereas Frankly, if students came from grade 8 and didn't do well in that science, on that science SOL test, this could be a bridge to biology so that we don't throw struggling kids from a not so great science year in 8th grade to a really tough biology class right out of the gate. So we would like to, for this class, to bridge the gap for those kids so they may, then you would take biology in the 10th grade and you would likely be more successful, if this makes sense. So the reason for my hesitation was high school administration was thinking about this on a more grand scale, but we decided after we talked a little bit more that maybe we could slow roll this to see how a section or two did this year, and then maybe open it up a more broad scale next year. But I still need your permission to add environmental science to our list of class offerings at the high school for this coming year, beginning in August.
Okay.
Is this prior to earth science?
This would be,
Well, I think that was the idea for some students that struggle.
Like they could, some students would do earth science, some students would do
Biology.
environmental science.
or biology. Yeah. So it just opens up it opens up a track where there's not an SOL test here, but it's a bridge between the SOL test that they may not have done well in the 8th grade on to a test, the biology test that everyone takes.
I guess I'm trying to understand how it fits with earth science, because earth science is tested. I don't remember you gotta have so many verified science credits, blah, blah, blah. So they would have to get their science credits
So
outside of this class.
yes, your verified science credits.
Yeah.
But once you pass one, you don't have to take another science as well.
Yeah.
Unless you
So
want.
they just need one.
Biology,
Okay.
Yeah.
then we would have to take
Right.
one science.
So-
class.
So, for example, if I didn't do well, and I'm not ready to jump into biology just yet, this would be a way to warm me up to biology, so that when it was time for me to take biology as a verified credit in the 10th grade, I'm more prepared.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sorry, I was a science teacher.
Uh-huh.
How does that impact staffing?
Well, that was
Because
part of
you're
the
looking
reason for
a
the.
biology teacher right now,
Mhm.
and this is a bio-based class. Is that accurate?
Right.
What you're saying?
Sure, but we would take, to my understanding, we would take some class sizes that are smaller and that would have been in biology and put them in this class with one teacher right now, I think, maybe with a couple of sections, maybe just one. This teacher is anxious to do this and has agreed to do this, and let these kids get a better feel for biology concepts before they jump into a verified credit. So it's a matter of shifting some enrollment, some section sizes, taking some away from biology, then maybe you could squeeze 2 biology sections together then, and then you have a section or 2 of environmental. It's the same kids, you're just splitting them up and moving them in different directions. I've seen it work really good in other divisions, you probably have too.
Yeah.
We just don't want kids to be set up for failure right out of the gate, from middle school to high school, when there's enough going on already. This is a slow roll for biology. I liken it to a pre-algebra class. If you're not quite ready for algebra, but I don't even think divisions do that anymore, but it's sort of like that. But we have studied the staff that we will have once that biology position is filled, and it's doable.
You said slow roll, meaning
Just
one
in-
section?
Right. Instead of throwing half of our 9th graders in there, we might throw 20.
And is it
Throw's not a good word.
Is it considered, they would sign up for it, I suppose?
So the counselors would help them decide that this might be the best path for them, along with the kids having their input with families. But again, it's been pretty successful in other divisions, and it increases your biology scores in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
All very good questions.
Any other questions? Could I get a motion to put the environmental science class as an action item?
So moved.
Motion of a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so we move that down to an action item.
Thank you. And thanks for that reminder.
All right,
Okay.
do we have any reports of board members? Because the only thing I have to say is that band camp has started. I know they're out there working hard.
That's a sure sign of fall.
It's a sure sign of fall, and football is, I think, out there getting going.
My car said 95
And some other
degrees.
things, so we've got students on campus, and we've got, staff, making adjustments and being everywhere they need to be.
School supplies, it's just around the corner.
Yep, school supply drives coming up, so there's lots going on, and, check online to see it. I don't think any school supply lists have been put out yet. I've
Not
seen
yet.
parents asking time and time again. I'm like, calm down. But school supply lists will be, I think, getting tailored at McCarg and Bell Heath, where, it used to be extensive lists, and I think they're trying to be really thoughtful and conscientious for parents and their pocketbooks. So that will all come.
Yes, ma'am.
It will come.
Yes, it will.
Let summer be summer. And was summer school, has that's completed, and how did that go? Do we have a?
Nothing made it to my office.
That's great.
That's a good
I think I heard that there was a lot of success with summer school and reclaiming some of those scores, helping those kids be successful. Anything else? We had a great retreat this morning. Great to be able to work with Dr. McDaniel and get her in on the team. So I appreciate everything you all brought to us to work together.
Thank you.
All right. Ready for our action items? All right, so first we have the Radford City Police Department, Radford City Public Schools MOU. Is there any more discussion about that, or are we ready to move forward? There it is up on our screen.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the Radford City Public Schools and Radford City Police Department MOU.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks so much for that continued relationship. All right, then we have our 2024 VSBA Media Honor Roll.
Yes, ma'am. If you will indulge me, I'd like to read this proclamation. Whereas in each community, the public schools are shaped by the community to provide the most appropriate and effective education for the school children who attend those schools. And whereas public schools are dependent on the community's support in countless ways, including support in setting goals for the education of our children, in establishing successful volunteer and booster programs at the schools, and for annual funding of operations in periodic bond elections, in the election of qualified school board members. And whereas much of the community's knowledge and opinions about the public schools rely on the responsible reporting by local media representatives who decide which news to share with the community, how much attention will be focused on various issues, and what the tone of the reporting will be. Now therefore be it resolved that the Radford City School Board place the name of Heather Bell with the News Journal on the statewide VSBA Media Honor Roll, calling attention to the ongoing responsible and exemplary nature of reporting on this community's public schools. We express our appreciation for Ms. Bell's balanced and accurate approach to sharing with this community both the challenges facing our schools and the successes achieved by the teachers and students. Your work has aided this community in focusing on the goal of providing the best public schools we can for the children who attend them. Unfortunately, Ms. Bell was unable to be with us. She is aware of this recognition, but she's unable to be with us today. She sends along her apologies for that, but her sincere gratefulness to be recognized in this manner, and I will see to it that she gets her certificate.
All right, thank you so much. So do I have a motion to, I guess it's not approve, a motion to adopt this proclamation for the 2024 VSBA Media Honor Roll?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much to Ms. Bell and the local news, and we will sign this and send it around. Thank you. We have our safety and crisis management guide.
So Mr. Hamilton, Mr. Howard, and others have been hard at work updating this plan so that we are prepared for the new school year. All of our phone numbers and job titles have been updated, and this is ready for your approval. Not a lot of changes again, but most of our changes came in the form of names and numbers.
Alrighty, do I have approval to, a motion to approve the Safety and Crisis Management Guide?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you so much. All right, our policy revisions. Was that our first reading for the policy revisions?
And my report was the first reading.
So we're not approving that today because
We can.
we can if we choose to. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the policy revisions of May 2024? Final reading.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you so much. And our student code of conduct for 24-25. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks so much. And appreciate y'all taking a look at it this coming up year to do some revisions to make it clearer
Sure.
and more concise for our students and families.
Thank you.
And then we have our new science class, our environmental science for 9th graders. Do I have a motion to approve this class?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. What a great opportunity for those students. Alrighty, closed meeting. Dr. Ray.
Madam Chair, I move that the board convene into closed session pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1 to discuss the appointment, resignation, and retirement of employees of the school board as well as admission of students.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks so much. We are in closed. let's do it. Can I please have a motion to convene in regular session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, Dr. Ray, can you certify our closed meeting, please?
I thought you did, yeah.
Here, okay.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to certify a closed session that we discussed section 2.2-3711A1, appointment, resignation, retirement of employees of the school board, and admission of students.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you so much. All right, we have Personnel Matters 1.0. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel matters?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you. And we had tuition students. Do I have a motion to approve the tuition students as presented?
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And just for anybody who's still listening out there, we have one of our RCPS students who had a major accident recently, and we ask that everyone keep Harper and her family in our thoughts and prayers, and hope for a speedy and full recovery for that young lady. Our next